This week, a brutal beatdown caught on camera.
You saw the video. Reprehensible. Cowards.
Plus, a slew of phony rideshare scams.
Problem is that the fraudsters are getting better every day.
And a wild robbery on Long Island.
This was just supposed to be a quick thing for an extra couple bucks.
Right now, Fox 5's Crime in the City. Here are some of the crimes from across the 5 boroughs. We begin this week in Times Square, where 2 cops are savagely assaulted. The whole thing caught on camera.
That brutal attack just further proof, as the most recent stats show, that assaults on officers are on the rise. Fox 5's Kendall Green live in Times Square with more tonight. Kendall.
Hey, good evening, Steve and Natasha. Many have already seen that disturbing video and wonder how it happened in the first place. And they also wonder how those 5 men have already been released from custody. But we're learning tonight assaults on police officers across the city are part of a growing, troubling trend. Around 8:30 Saturday night, you can see 5 men and 2 officers interacting on camera. Seems calm and ordinary until the pair of officers attempt to take down one of the men in yellow, pictured here. And then it gets ugly.
You saw the video. Reprehensible. Cowards.
It starts with one kick to a cop's head and only escalates from that point on. Seconds later, the men swarm around the officers already on the ground by this point, striking them both multiple times.
You want to know why our cops are getting assaulted? There's no consequences. And we must change this. End of story.
Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office sent us a statement in part saying, quote, "Violence against police officers is never acceptable. It is paramount that we conclusively identify each defendant and specify each participant's role in the incident. Every defendant charged so far is facing felony charges that carry a penalty of up to 7 years." It's not clear what triggered the fight, but it's part of a rising trend of citywide felony assaults on police. Police report a jump of 1,885 assaults in 2022 to 2,235 last year, representing a more than 15% spike in assaults during that period.
It really begs the question as to what is being done within the criminal justice system to not only keep officers safe, but keep us as a community safe.
Dr. Darren Porcher, retired as an NYPD lieutenant and teaches now. He notes his concern with the potential attack's impact on numbers on the police force and context with NYPD's already troubling attrition rate.
When we look to situations such as officers being assaulted and the actual offenders being released, it really creates a greater propensity for people not wanting to take the job as being a police officer.
Over in Queens, 2 brothers busted with a deadly arsenal stashed in their apartment.
2 Queens brothers charged with 130 counts of criminal possession of a weapon after police say they found an arsenal of ghost guns and explosives inside their apartment in Astoria.
And as Fox 5's Ashley Rodriguez shows us, it wasn't just the cache of weapons and explosives that were found. Apparently, there was also a handwritten hit list.
9 IED bombs, AR-15s, 9mm semi-auto pistols, an AK-47, some loaded, unloaded, and under construction. Over 600 rounds of ammo, 3 sets of body armor, 29 high-capacity magazines, tools to assemble ghost guns, and 1 3D printer to make them. Queens DA Melinda Katz says inside 39-year-old Andrew and 51-year-old Angelo Haziagelis' Astoria apartment was not only this arsenal, but notebooks with bomb-making instructions, a hit list targeting cops, judges, politicians, and celebrities, anarchist propaganda, and a pentagram.
And although we may not yet know the defendant's intentions or the extent of what we've disrupted yet, the investigation is ongoing.
The brothers are facing 130 charges and 25 years behind bars. Depending on the conclusion of the NYPD and Homeland Security's investigation, terrorism charges could follow. But so far, they have decided to not charge a 3rd brother and their mother, who were all living together on 36th Avenue, just a stone's throw from the Con Ed power plant. When we knocked on the door to the apartment where the arsenal was discovered, Fox 5 got an exclusive meet and greet with their mother.
Can you tell us anything about your sons?
Get out! Get out! Get out!
Their upstairs neighbor was more accommodating and utterly shocked by the stockpile.
I'm shaking.
I'm shaking.
She woke up early on the morning of January 17th to find agents in tactical gear, bomb squads, and police surrounding the building. The raid, a culmination of 6 months of investigation, partially triggered by the brothers' alleged online activity of ghost gun making videos and purchases. She described the family as unpleasant, mean to their dog, and gross.
I just know they don't like the government, and that's alarming. That's what alarms me, is that they kind of barricaded themselves into their own little world.
Authorities are actively looking for lone wolves, fueled by an amalgamation of anti-government ideas, who are now able to 3D print, build, and hoard weapons of mass destruction.
We are all on top of it to make sure that we preventatively gather these weapons before they are utilized in the general public.
Now, the investigation is ongoing, but so far the DA has not linked these two brothers to any terrorist affiliation. They still don't understand the motive. Now, the brothers did write that human sacrifice is permitted, but only for the corrupt. The NYPD Commissioner Edward Cambon applauding this investigation, calling these two men evil and capable of horrendous carnage in this community.
Back in Manhattan, a phony rideshare driver is caught draining unsuspecting passengers' bank accounts.
All right, listen up, because there is a growing concern over a scam playing out across the city. This is where people pose as Uber drivers. This is to scam riders out of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, these types of robberies actually happen more than you think. Kendall Green has more on what's being done to stop them.
One of the latest Cash App scams proves fraudsters are pulling out all the stops to get the money out of your wallet or purse.
Law enforcement has a good grasp on it. The problem is that the fraudsters are getting better every day.
29-year-old Sukrab Suvanov is an example of criminals getting creative. Authorities say back in December, he pretended to be an Uber driver in the West Village, scamming victims after picking them up outside of the Red Lion bar. Police say he convinced the victims he needed to use their phone to get directions. And when they turned over the devices, he transferred thousands of dollars into his own PayPal account and gave the phone right back. Manhattan DA's office says it's not the first time he's struck. They say he used Venmo to steal $3K on December 27th. And back in October, he used a woman's phone he picked up on East 66th Street to purchase nearly $3,500 worth of food in the App Store. Jeff Marshall is a criminal justice professor at John Jay College.
Because the victims willingly gave their phones to the perpetrator here, the financial institutions may not refund their money.
If you have these cash apps on your home screen, you're asking to become a victim. So do not display them on your home screen. Hide them. The second screen, third screen, fourth screen.
Paul Oster with Better Qualified is urging users in the climate we're in just to pretend they don't even use the apps to begin with. Suvanov is facing grand larceny charges and possession of a forged instrument in the latest incident. Now, this scam is the latest example of why Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg called executives of PayPal, Zelle, and Cash App to the table to discuss stronger security measures to put in place.
Moving downtown, the showdown over a pair of criminal justice bills comes to a vote at City Hall.
Come this summer, officers will have to record even low-level encounters with the public, and the How Many Stops Act isn't the only criminal justice bill the City Council overrode today. Arthur Sheehan is live outside City Hall with much more. Arthur?
Big losses for Mayor Eric Adams as the Democratic-led City Council here today overrode his veto on two very important bills. The first one, expanding documentation of police stops. The other one, ending solitary confinement.
42 in the affirmative, 9 in the negative, and 0 abstentions. So the ayes do have it this time.
By a 42-9 vote and with a smile, the City Council overrode Mayor Eric Adams on two crucial criminal justice bills. Beginning in July, NYPD officers will have to record the race, gender, age, and more whenever they question anyone, even when asking which way a suspect fled. Mayor Adams vetoed the How Many Stops Act, saying it takes police away from doing police work. The City Council's override shows a major disconnect.
The resistance to this legislation is disturbing. The resistance to truth-telling of data, of who is being stopped in the city of New York, is disturbing to me.
Mayor Adams, a former NYPD captain, fought the override down to the last hour, taking city council members on a ride-along over the weekend with the NYPD. While supporters of the police accountability bill say recording the stops takes seconds, the mayor says seconds can be the difference between life and death.
Those seconds matter. And so anyone who dismisses the amount of time we take police from policing to do paperwork is not fully understanding the scope of public safety.
Let's put in perspective, last year we handled 8.5 million calls for service. Assuming that's one person, that's 8.5 million reports we have to do on our phone, on an app. That takes time.
Amongst the city councilors who voted to override the mayor's veto, city council member Yusef Salam, one of the exonerated Central Park Five, who complained about a police stop over the weekend, only for a body camera to be released showing the officer let him go when he told the officer he's a city council member.
I'm council member Salam. Council member? This district 9. Oh, okay. Have a good one.
Despite driving a car with illegally tinted windows. Nonetheless, Salam got emotional pondering if the How Many Stops Act might have changed things for the Central Park Five.
If these laws were in place in 1989.
He then voted aye to the bill, which would not have triggered reporting requirements of his traffic stop, since all traffic stops are already documented.
The other veto override bans solitary confinement in New York City jails. Mayor Adams tonight saying that presents a danger to inmates and corrections officers. It is worth noting the federal monitor appointed to oversee New York City jails agrees with the mayor on this one, something that does not happen every day.
And finally, leaving the city, a digital deal goes horribly wrong for one Long Island man.
A really wild crime caught on camera when a Long Island man is forced to jump on the hood of a moving car right there after his attempt to sell a Rolex watch goes horribly wrong.
Yeah, it's the latest danger tied to transactions made on Facebook Marketplace. Jody Goldberg talked to the victim about those wild moments.
This was just supposed to be a quick thing for an extra couple bucks.
But now Steve Morrow is out $8,000 and nursing bruises after the Massapequa man seen here on the hood of this gray Honda SUV tried to stop a robber who took off with his new Rolex watch.
I never thought in a million years that this would happen.
Steve considers himself a frequent Facebook Marketplace seller.
It's usually local moms, and it's very pleasant.
So when a man named John initially reached out to buy the watch, he said nothing seemed out of the ordinary.
This guy was asking all the right questions. How did you acquire it? Do you have the paperwork?
But when it came time to pay, John, who was already trying on the watch, asked him to get into the passenger seat, and that's when he took off.
This is me sort of grabbing the door, opening it, and he's shutting it and putting it in reverse.
Steve believes an officer seen in the corner of your screen who was driving by as this all unfolded may have spooked the driver.
So he threw me onto the lawn instead of driving what would have been probably a whole lot faster on the street, and I would have probably bashed my head on the concrete.
Police, who are still looking for the Honda, which possibly had Connecticut plates, offered this advice to anyone using online marketplaces.
Put yourself in that safe environment, be with multiple people, well lit, and make sure you know the person that's coming to buy it.
While Nassau County doesn't have any so-called safe zones, buyers or sellers can go to any police precinct. In Suffolk County, areas outside the Riverhead and Yaphank jails are closely monitored. As for Steve, who managed to hold on to the links and paperwork for the watch, he plans to be a smarter seller.
And I didn't want to be rude to him and say, I don't trust you, give me the money first. I don't operate that way. But going forward, I absolutely would.
Now police tell us they're looking into a similar scam in New York City involving the same type of vehicle. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers. That number, 800-244-TIPS.
And that's this week's Crime in the City. Subscribe for more at youtube.com/Fox5NY.